How will you react if Joe Biden becomes president again?
Story 1. Be happy I get 4 more years of not needing to care who the Undersecretary of Transportation is. Story 2. Thank Christ Almighty. People really should understand that you're not just voting for Biden. You're voting for his entire cabinet of 15 people, hundreds of judges, thousands of other staffers, etc. Even if you hate Biden for whatever reason, his cabinet and the judges he's appointed have been infinitely better than the corrupt filth Trump installed when he was in office. Story 3. Hope that the planet makes better use of the 4 years of bought time than the last 4. Then get depressed as hell because of course they won't. It's all about kicking the can down the road rather than actually making hard calls to fix anything. Story 4. I'm going to let out the biggest and longest sigh of relief of my life before continuing on with my normal life. I mean, America has 2 choices. Option 1. President Biden, who does have some flaws. Or option 2. Donald Trump, who has 4 indictments with 91 criminal charges, who has said that he is proud that he overturned Roe versus Wade in the U.S., who incited a coup attempt on the U.S. government on January 6, 2021, who said he plans to be a dictator on day 1 if he's re-elected, etc. I can go on, but the U.S. and the world cannot and will not survive another 4 years of Donald Trump. That's why Americans need to vote as if their lives and their rights are on the line because they are. Story 5. All these fucking apathetic responses. I'm gonna celebrate as if we invented a time machine and found a way to stop Hitler. Because this is as close as you're gonna get, people. Story 6. I will feel totally relieved. Trump has a vicious design for the future of the United States that will put him and his cohorts in the easy seat, like the oligarch in Russia are. Trump is scary. He's proclaiming and giving you insight on the trouble he will cause. And let us not forget he's currently indicted in 4 territories. He should be in jail, not the campaign trail. Story 7 with a lot of relief. America and the world can't stand another 4 years of Trump. Trump is about nothing but the imaginary grievances of fools. Story 8. I'd be thrilled, concerned about his health, but nobody young and healthy is running. He is in better health, especially mental health, than his opponent. As far as I'm concerned, he's doing a great job, and I'd like to see more of it. He sucks at marketing his achievements as he did while VP. We knew that. But the infrastructure bill, Inflation Reduction Act, which was essentially Bernie's Green New Deal and I canvassed for Bernie. Extremely low unemployment, always good for Americans, just not Wall Street. So fuck Wall Street. Massive increase in unionization. He didn't do it, but he's supportive and not obstructing it as a GOP prez would. His efforts to massively reduce or forgive student loan debt, stymied by the SCOTUS, thanks Mitch McConnell, are all great things. I'm sure I'll get criticized for this take, because he didn't do enough to stop drilling here or stop sending foreign aid over there. Whatever, man. When he compromises, he gets criticized by both extremes, and there's no way to win in the court of public opinion. I'd like a complete ban on fossil fuels and an end to war worldwide, but I ain't gonna get it. That doesn't mean I'm going to punish the guy who tells me truthfully, I can extend the solar and wind tax credits, but I can't stop all drilling, or we're sending billions of dollars in, mostly outdated armaments to help Ukraine defend themselves against Putin. I don't know why he's polling so poorly with others. Maybe we're all so freaking tired of political news in general, no one can like the incumbent. But I know the alternative, and there's no way in hell I'd stay home. I'll be voting for Biden. Story 9. I'd have a little bit more faith in America again. I don't know how a guy who's been found liable of rape, stolen and lost-sold top-secret files, found guilty of fraud, committed a coup to overthrow the government, and a trillion other shit things he's done, would be even in the contest anymore. I mean, if you don't like America and want it to burn, sure. But otherwise, no clue what people are thinking to support him. Story 10. It's amazing that the best this country can do is 2 nearly senile 80-year-olds as our options. Don't care for neither, but it just blows my mind where this country has gone in the last decade or so. Story 11. Relieved yet annoyed. It's literally guy who does the bare minimum versus a literal fascist who has ties to criminals, dictators, and a cult of terrorists. There's no hoping for a better nominee until that cheese puff bigot is barred from holding any political power. Story 12. Stoked honestly. Biden himself is a cool, weird uncle, hiding a stacked administration behind the innocence of, oh, he's not a strong leader, he can't talk well. Basically passed the Green New Deal, and everyone just went along with it. Excited to see what he would do with a second term. Story 13. So happy that I don't have to either move to another country or watch my rights be slowly stripped away. Biden isn't a radical president, but he's so reliable, and that's exactly what a first world nation needs. Story 14. I can't stand Trump, but Biden is very obviously elderly and struggling mentally. I think having him in office makes us look weak as a county. That being said, we don't have any great options between the two. They both suck. We need to put an age limit on political offices across the board and start fresh. Edited to add, I'm not voting for either, and I will be unhappy with either taking office. Story 15. He staved off a recession that everyone thought was imminent after the pandemic. The U.S. economy is performing much better than expected, and job growth has been very positive, despite huge tech layoffs. He has a much better rapport with the rest of the world and our allies. Our allies trust him to not give their secrets away to dictators like Putin. He understands the complexity of global affairs and is interested in learning about them. Trump was notorious for not caring about what was happening, for getting names of countries and political leaders wrong, for wanting his daily security briefings as short as possible, and for being too close to our enemies such as Putin and Kim Jong-un. Most importantly, a vote for Biden is a vote for someone who will continue to respect the Constitution and our democracy. He has never tried to make money off of the presidency. He has never tried to insist that he is above the law. He has never tried to use the DOJ to go after his enemies or protect his friends. Contrary to what right-wing media says, Biden has consistently refused to order the DOJ to investigate Trump or to intervene in Hunter Biden's investigations. Trump, on the other hand, has said that we should invalidate the Constitution. He's repeatedly said the rules don't apply to him, that he's immune from prosecution and can do whatever he wants. He's made millions off the presidency. Every single president before him has had to remove themselves from their businesses due to the emoluments clause of the Constitution, while Trump just put his sons in charge of the company and didn't step back. He put his daughter and son-in-law in high government positions that required top-secret clearance, and when they failed their clearance checks, he insisted that they be given clearance anyway. He's given our secrets to the enemy, which has been directly linked to the deaths of CIA agents in the field. He used the presidency to try bully Zelensky into investigating his enemy, Joe and Hunter Biden, and illegally withheld aid when Zelensky refused. Finally, he refused to step down from the presidency, instead claiming before the election that if he lost, it meant the Democrats cheated, and then claiming election fraud when he lost. All of his claims of fraud have been completely debunked, yet he still insists that he didn't lose. He incited his followers to storm the Capitol on January 6th to stop Congress from certifying Biden as president. He refused to intervene when he was told that his own VP was in danger. He refused to intervene when people were getting hurt and killed. He refused to intervene. He's out of touch with reality and has said he will be a dictator from day one. This is a democracy, and I am not voting for a king or dictator. My vote will be for someone who respects our Constitution and our democracy, and who doesn't feel as if they're above the law. Story 16. Relieved that Trump lost. Relieved that the U.S. will continue not being the laughing stock of the world for another 4 years, but disappointed that it had to be Biden again instead of new blood. Story 17. I'll be happy. I would be happier if it were someone who was more progressive, but I believe Biden has done a far better job that he is getting credit for. The economy has recovered far better than I would have expected. Most of the problems in the country have to do with an inability of the GOP to engage in any form of reasonable compromise or governance. I personally believe that Biden would have done better if his own party would have supported him better. But his main problems are the insane people in the GOP. Edit. I literally do not care about anyone's age. I do, however, care about their competence, or lack thereof, and Trump actually seems to be in early-stage dementia, among other problems. Story 18. Considering that Trump has outstanding civil cases and multiple criminal charges and wants immunity from all of them, I would celebrate Biden's victory. Considering how radical MAGA is, they will do anything to undermine the justice system to give him complete immunity. At that point, what stops Trump from pushing the boundaries and altering the USA to authoritarianism? Story 19. Go back to not caring and thankful for a boring president who isn't causing some international embarrassment or treasonous scandal every week like the previous orange shit stain. Story 20. So it's like 99% gonna come down to Trump and Biden, and if Biden wins, I'll be happy that we won't have to worry about the what-ifs of Trump. But I just want someone who is more in touch with my generation and will actually be alive to see the long-term impact of their presidency. Story 21. Good. We won't make any progress as a country, but at least we won't go backwards. I think both Trump and Biden are bad for two different reasons, but one is worse. Trump because he actively wants to drag certain aspects of our culture back in time. Biden because we have another old white guy in charge doing the bare fucking minimum and maintaining the same status quo. Give me Grandpa Joe for another 4 years, so at least I don't have to worry about some of my close friends being declared enemies of the state. Story 22. Why don't people like Biden? Despite being old, he's actually had a pretty amazing track record. The Infrastructure Bill, Inflation Reduction Act, and CHIPS Act are 3 major pieces of legislation done in 4 years with a split Congress. That's a pretty fucking great record. Most presidents get one big thing done in a term, and he's already had 3. Yes, he's old and shit, and presumably relies on his staff more than Obama did, but who gives a fuck? He's put people in place and enabled them to get shit done. That's better than 90% of all presidents. Oh, and the other option is Donald Trump. Need I really say any more? Story 23. I'm like 90% sure that if Biden wins, the Republican Party will have a major crisis that might lead to violent conflict, might result in the party collapsing, and might trigger a constitutional crisis. I don't know what that will look like, but the tensions are building, and I think losing another election is all it will take for them to erupt. When that happens, it could be another January 6th, except different because of all that has changed since then. Or it could be some states trying to secede. Best case, it could be the party collapsing into disarray and infighting, rendering them largely ineffective on the national stage for several cycles. On the other hand, I'm 100% sure that Trump will try to end American democracy, and that another presidential term from him will lead to a second civil war. So I'm rooting for Biden. Story 24. I'd brace for Trump's second insurrection attempt. Then once that's over, I'd laugh. I'd sit back and watch the leftover court cases Trump was so sure he'd just pardon himself from. I'd watch the meltdown of the dictator, watching his dreams of a country centered on his needs and ego fall away, his mafia tactics doing nothing to save him. He becomes the glorious story of, what if the people got wise to a despot before he took power, and he'd deserve it? Biden? Better than the alternative. He ain't perfect, but he treated presidency like a job rather than a noble title, as a president should. Story 25. Given the alternative is a felon, I'd be generally okay with it. It's kind of like having instant coffee for breakfast. You don't really want it, but you need a pick-me-up to handle work, and you're smart enough to stay the fuck away from the meth the orange guy on the corner keeps trying to sell you. Story 26. Any Democrat is better than Trump. I feel like he's underrated. People don't like Biden. He got an infrastructure program and isn't in the news every day for being a crazy person. The economy has been weird, but okay. Yes, there was a ton of inflation, but that's a global problem that came from a mix of COVID supply chains and very easy monetary policy. I rather think he's going to go down as probably as underrated, given that his polls have never been above 50%, but he hasn't done anything particularly egregious relative to our last 5 presidents. Story 27. Better than Trump. I'm not a huge Biden fan by any means, but all of the environmental deregulations that Trump pushed were so horrifying to see. He rescinded so many of Obama's policies for clean energy, so it would be nice if Biden stayed so all the progress wouldn't be unraveled again. Story 28. Am I happy if he wins? Yes. But that's just because Trump is going to be the other candidate, which blows my mind. I was never really excited about a Biden administration. It's always been, well, it's not Trump. I've never been a lesser of two evils voter, but Trump has made it that way. Story 29. Unlike Trump supporters, I don't worship any politicians. It's just another stupid parasocial relationship. If Biden is the better person for the job, then hopefully he wins. It will be met with a mildly happy shrug. I did buy some shares of WBD today in the hopes that everyone will have their eyes glued to CNN in 2024. Hopefully, I can benefit from idiots who watch Trump news all day. This is what gives me sick joy. Story 30 relieved. The alternative is Trump. Biden really isn't that bad despite what everyone whines about on TikTok and here on Reddit. He's not an orator at all and is obviously way too old for the job, but his general cabinet and leadership has been happily boring. The CHIPS Act was good shit. So was the infrastructure deal. I don't think people realize how crazy these are. The USA desperately needed both, and he, or whatever puppet master controls his drugged-up corpse, got it done. His handling of Ukraine has been great. Really, our government in general should get props all around for that one. Cripple one of our greatest adversaries and sacrifice 0 Americans do it with a massive discount? Without going to war? Absolutely fantastic. Russia is a shell of its former self. Any well-trained military it had is dead and gone. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see them collapse in a few years. On Israel, he's done a fine job. I know certain subs here think the response has been monstrous, but it's probably the most complicated border on the planet. There is no good solution. Israel has been dealing with terrorism for decades from a large swath of people that want nothing more than to see them wiped from history. This has fired up their entire country to want to do the same to the other side. Both sides suck. They both see each other as dogs. I know which one I'd want to have on our side in the future, though. The one that has fully embraced Western life. I think people forget that radical Islamic countries want our way of life gone, Palestine included. Story 31. I will be happy that democracy still exists. Trump is a nuclear bomb who will destroy this country. He doesn't want to be president. He wants to be a king who controls everything in a way that he can never be punished for. I don't know if anyone has paid attention to any of Trump's court cases, but without the media being allowed to record them, he comes right out of court and immediately goes on a tirade of fake information that he claims happened inside the courtroom. The judge had actually told him that if he kept threatening members of the court, then he would be held in contempt. Trump comes out and says stuff like, "They said that they are dropping all charges." Even the judge confirmed there was no evidence. I've done nothing wrong. They actually said that I have been the best president to serve by doing everything perfectly. They can't continue the case because I have won. It was such a small case, and even the judge admitted that I am just not guilty. Something that some people may be unaware of is that Trump admits to admiring Hitler. I'm sure we all had an idea that was the case, but I didn't know that there was actual proof found in older interviews of his. One of his prized possessions is a copy of Adolf Hitler's speeches confirmed by his ex-wife Ivana. Ivana Trump told her lawyer Michael Kennedy that from time to time her husband reads a book of Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, which he keeps in a cabinet by his bed. Kennedy now guards a copy of My New Order in a closet at his office, as if it were a grenade. In the past, he has spoken highly of Hitler and even called him a genius. Trump may have been looking for inspiration in Hitler's genius for propaganda and the way he spun military defeats as great victories. This is seemingly his current game plan, based on the way he immediately comes out of court and starts spinning lies that he had actually won. That is absolutely terrifying to think about. We not only have someone who admires Hitler, but we also have that person attempting to use Hitler's propaganda techniques. We cannot let this madman win again. I beg of people to actually try to understand how much another Trump presidency will destroy this country as we know it.